My name is Elena Vance. I am 28 years old. Tonight was my wedding night, but this was no ordinary wedding. It was taking place in the ballroom of the Grand Imperial, Manhattan's most expensive hotel. Crystal chandeliers sparkled everywhere. The scent of thousands of white roses filled the air, and the guests' outfits were so expensive that their brilliance hurt the eyes. But behind all this glitter, there was a bitter truth that only I could feel. I stood in the corner of the stage, adjusting my designer gown, but my hands were trembling slightly. People kept coming, embracing me. "Elena, you're so lucky. Marcus is a gem. A sterling family connection. You've hit the lottery." I only gave a faint smile. My gaze drifted to the farthest corner of the ballroom. There was a small table right next to the kitchen door. My parents were sitting there. My father, Thomas, was wearing the same old suit he had worn at my graduation. The suit was clean, pressed, but among all those expensive designer tuxedos it looked old and cheap. My mother Martha was holding his hand, looking slightly frightened. This world was completely alien to them. My father is a retired school teacher. He spent his entire life surrounded by a small library and old books. We weren't rich, but there was no shortage of respect and love in our home. I remember when I was little we didn't have a car, but every weekend Dad would take me on his bicycle to buy ice cream. That $2 ice cream felt like the most expensive treat in the world to me. "Elena?" I turned around. It was Marcus, my fiancé. He had a charisma that could win anyone over. We had met 2 years ago at a library. He was researching some old legal file, and I worked there part-time. He seemed very humble. He never mentioned his wealth to me. He had promised me. "Elena, my family is a little different, but I will always stand by you." I believed him. I loved him. But as the wedding approached, I began to understand the true nature of the Sterling family. Marcus's mother, Eleanor Sterling, was a woman for whom status was everything. The first time I went to their mansion, she looked at my shoes as if I had brought dirt inside. "Oh, Elena," Eleanor had said once, "we had hoped Marcus would marry into a family whose name appears in the news, not into a home where newspapers are sold as scrap." I endured all of it. I thought everything would be fine after the wedding. But tonight, she crossed the line. It was dinner time. At the largest table sat Eleanor, her husband Richard, and the city's top mayors and investors. I waited for someone to call my parents forward, but no one came. I saw a waiter go to my father and say something. My father hesitated, then lowered his head, picked up his plate, and headed toward the table near the kitchen. Tears welled up in my mother's eyes, but she swallowed them so I wouldn't feel pain. Eleanor looked at her friends and laughed a little loudly. "See, we've given them a little private corner. They're not used to such crowds and luxury, are they? Might drop a spoon from nervousness." Her friends started laughing. Marcus stood there. I looked at him, my eyes pleading. "Say something, Marcus. Stop them." But what did Marcus do? He simply picked up his glass and laughed along with his mother. "You're right, Mom. Dad will be comfortable there. These people just need to be shown their place." That laugh of his fell into my ears like acid. That wasn't the Marcus I had loved. That was a Sterling. An arrogant, greedy Sterling. I saw my father lower his head even more. He was fiddling with the button on his old suit, trying to escape his shame. My father, who had never bowed before anyone, was enduring all of this because of me. In that one moment, the Elena, who was frightened, died inside me. Blood turned to ice in my veins. I remembered that I possessed a secret that could annihilate these people's existence. They thought I was the daughter of a poor schoolteacher. They didn't know what my grandfather had left in my name. I stepped toward the stage. The train of my gown scraped along the floor. People were watching, perhaps thinking I was about to give a speech. I picked up the mic. The click of the mic echoed through the entire hall. I gripped the mic tightly and looked into Eleanor's eyes. Her laughter hadn't yet faded. "Listen carefully, everyone," I said. My voice carried a thunder it had never carried before. Silence fell over the entire ballroom. Today, the trash is about to be taken out. The echo of the mic spread through the entire ballroom like a thunderbolt. Eleanor Sterling set down her wineglass, her face now a mixture of shock and anger. Marcus took a stumbling step toward me, perhaps thinking I was drunk or overcome with emotion. "Elena, darling, what are you doing? Come down. Everyone is watching," Marcus whispered, his face turning slightly red. I shook off his hand. "Yes, Marcus, everyone is watching. And today, I want them to see exactly what your noble family has been trying to hide for the past 2 years." I brought the mic a little closer and turned toward Eleanor. "Mrs. Sterling, you just said that my father doesn't fit in this atmosphere. You think his old suit diminishes the grandeur of your $10 million ballroom." Eleanor straightened her posture. "I only spoke the truth, Elena. Status cannot be hidden. We already did your family a great favor by inviting them here." The wealthy guests sitting in the hall began looking at each other. My father was gesturing no from below the stage, fear in his eyes. He didn't want my wedding to break. But it was too late now. "A favor?" I gave a cold laugh. "I'm the one who has done you a favor, Eleanor. For the last 18 months, who has been providing oxygen to your Sterling group as it fell into a pit of death? Did you ever bother to find out?" Marcus's father, Richard Sterling, who had been sitting silently until now, suddenly stood up. "Elena, stay within your limits. Our business is beyond your understanding. Our main investor is a very large holding company, the Whitmore Trust. You probably don't even know what that name means." I smiled and looked into Richard's eyes. The Whitmore Trust. The same trust that gives your textile mills and real estate projects millions in credit lines every month. The same trust that threw your bankruptcy papers into the trash bin last month so you could put on this wedding spectacle. Richard's face turned pale. How do you know all this?" I pulled my phone from a pocket in my gown and connected it to the large projector screen in the hall. A login portal suddenly appeared on the screen. The entire gathering watched, breath held. I scanned my thumbprint, and the dashboard opened. At the very top, in large letters, it read, "Whitmore Trust, Master Access. Owner, Elena Vance, Whitmore." A silence fell over the ballroom as if someone had stolen all the air. Marcus's glass slipped from his hand and shattered. Eleanor's mouth hung open. "My grandfather, Arthur Whitmore, built this empire," I said calmly. "He didn't give this wealth to my father, Thomas, because my father preferred peace and simplicity. He left all this fortune to me, on the condition that I would take charge of it when I turned 25. For the last 3 years, I have run this company from the shadows. I kept my name as Vance, so that people would recognize me for my work, not for my grandfather's money." I looked at Marcus, who now seemed like shattered glass in front of me. "Marcus, you said you would stand by me, but today you proved that you are merely your mother's shadow. You mocked my father, the man who taught me that true class isn't found in expensive suits, but in a clean heart." I turned toward Eleanor. "Mrs. Sterling, you asked where my father belongs, didn't you? So listen. My father is the father of the owner of this ballroom. He is sitting near that kitchen right now because his daughter trusted you, but not anymore." Richard stumbled toward the stage. "Elena, child, forgive us. We made a mistake. We will call Mr. Thomas to the main table right now. We will apologize to him." "It's too late, Richard," I said in a cold tone. "Tonight, not only is this wedding breaking, but the death warrant of the Sterling Group is also being signed. I have messaged my legal team in the last 10 minutes. All of Sterling Group's funding, all credit lines, and all active contracts are being terminated at this very moment." Marcus shouted, "Elena, you can't do this. Our family will be on the streets." "They will fit right in there, Marcus," I said, turning back. "There they'll finally understand what true class means." I saw that my father had come near the stage. There were tears in his eyes now, but not of fear, of pride. I stepped down from the stage and took his hand. "Dad, let's go. We've wasted too much time here." I saw Elena sitting on the floor, her arrogance now crushed into the dust. Marcus tried to follow me, but Whitmore Trust's security guard stopped him. As we walked toward the ballroom doors, I turned one last time to look at the entire gathering. The people who had been mocking my father moments ago now stood with their heads bowed. "Remember one thing," I said on the mic for the final time. "A person's status is not measured by their bank balance, but by their integrity. Today, all of you have lost both." We stepped out of the hotel. The cold wind outside welcomed me. My father hugged me and said softly, "Elena, did you do this for me?" "No, Dad," I said with a smile. "I did this for every daughter whose father was ever considered weak by anyone."
The large iron doors of the hotel had closed behind us, but the Sterling family's chicanery was not over yet. As we walked toward our car, Richard Sterling came running outside. His face was red with anger, but his eyes had a strange glint, as if he still had an ace card left.
"Elena, stop!"
Richard shouted. Behind him, Marcus was panting.
"You think you control Whitmore Trust alone?
Perhaps you haven't read that small page 42 of your grandfather's will." I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at him. My father gripped my hand tightly. Richard pulled out an old, yellowed legal document. "Your grandfather took an old loan from the Sterling family when Whitmore Trust was just starting out. In exchange for that loan, he signed a joint partnership clause. If any heir of Whitmore Trust marries into the Sterling family, the two companies must merge. The moment you took your marriage vows, 50% control of your company transferred to Marcus. You cannot stop the funding, Elena. You've trapped yourself." Marcus gave a nasty smile. "Elena, darling, you put on quite a show on the mic, but the law doesn't run on emotions. Now, you are my wife, and your wealth is mine. Now come back inside and apologize to everyone, or I will sell your company by tomorrow morning." My father's face fell. "Elena, is this true?" I looked at Marcus and Richard. They thought they had checkmated me. I slowly took out my phone and made a single call. "Now," I said. Just one word. Suddenly, 3 black SUVs pulled into the hotel parking lot. Out stepped New York's most expensive corporate lawyers and federal investigators, briefcases in hand. "Richard," I said calmly, "you read page 42, but you forgot page 43. That clause is only valid if the marriage is legally complete. We haven't signed the marriage register yet. And second thing, I gestured toward the lawyers. You said my grandfather took a loan? For the last 2 years, I have conducted a forensic audit of those old records. My grandfather did not take a loan. Rather, your father stole $20 million from Whitmore Trust and forged papers, calling it a loan. The yellow paper fell from Richard's hands. That's why the federal investigators are here, I said, stepping forward. For 30 years, the loan you used to benefit from Whitmore Trust falls under grand larceny and corporate fraud. Sterling Group isn't just going bankrupt, Richard. You are going to jail. Marcus screamed. No! Elena, I love you. We can sit down and talk. Love, I said with disgust. You lost your love the moment you decided to laugh at my father's old suit. You made my father sit near the kitchen. Now the law will seat you where you belong, in a 6x6 jail cell. Federal agents took Richard and Marcus into custody right there in the parking lot. Elena watched it all from the hotel terrace. Her expensive wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered. The Sterling Empire, which once stood with pride, had turned to ashes in a single night. I looked at my father. His eyes were filled with tears of pride. Beta, when did you do all this? The day Marcus first mocked your work, Dad, I said, holding his hand. That very day, I decided I would destroy their existence. We got into the car. I told the driver, take us to our old home. But Elena, my father asked, now that you are such a big owner, why don't you want to live in a mansion? Because, Dad, I said, resting his head on my shoulder. Mansions are for people like the Sterlings. I have learned that peace lies in that small house where you taught me the lessons of respect and truth. My wealth will stay in my bank, but my heart will always remain in your old library. The next morning, there was only one headline in all of New York's newspapers. The Fall of Sterling, a bride's revenge. I bought all of Sterling Group's lands and built a large technical college and orphanage there, naming it after my father, the Thomas Vance Institute. I proved that if a daughter is considered weak, she has the power to build a home. But when it comes to her dignity, she also has the strength to destroy an entire empire.